What is good, everyone? This is your host, Deanna Radulescu with Label Free Podcast. Live your best life. You must live label free. As always, bringing you very incredible guests from all over. My next guest is an former engineer and manager in the corporate world. He is now an entrepreneur with his wife of the Zimmer Law Firm. Please welcome Andrew Zihmer. Andrew, welcome. Thank you for joining us today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on. It's an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, I'm excited where this conversation is going to go, based upon what we've already discussed already. And so I always love to get into people that were in corporate and then are now entrepreneurs. And in your bio, you said like how it was a little tough transition doing that. So talk to us a little bit about that, because that's really a main part of my show, are guests like you.
Absolutely. I think for me, the big part leaving was the security of a good W-2 income, right? You have health care and benefits and retirement. And so I think everything that society tells us you had to have and check those boxes, I was able to check those. Yeah. And so there's a lot of societal pressure then on why would you ever give that up?
Yeah.
But deep down, I knew that that wasn't what fulfilled me, made me happy. I felt like I could offer other and better things. So I was always in conflict. But I think that's the biggest struggle, is walking away from something where 99% of the room is going to tell you you're crazy, and having the guts to kind of say, no, it's okay to do my own thing.
Right. Exactly. It's very true. And so, I feel like we need people that belong in corporate. We need those people because that's part of what helps make the world go around. But we also want to support people and the reason why for my show, support people that have a bigger purpose in life and want to fulfill that purpose, whatever that might look like. And it doesn't have to look like everybody else. And so I love your bio and how you want to, what did you say here at the end? You want to talk about the most impactful books and just things that help encourage and inspire the listeners, right?
Yeah, I feel like I didn't have a great vehicle of other people supporting me. Tracy did. And Tracy, my wife, bet on me when I didn't bet on myself. After her, it was a pretty short list of people who really were like, you can do this. And so that's why I try to give back to other folks is, I don't like, again, it's hard when people kind of maybe go down a wrong path, or, again, just because you want to be an entrepreneur doesn't mean you can, or that that the product or idea will sell. But when folks have it and they have that burning desire, I love to help stoke that flame a little bit, because it's easy for their family and friends to be naysayers. And so they're going to have very few voices saying, go for it. And so I like to try to use a platform when I can to help people say, it's okay. You're going to do all right. Failure in this utter and catastrophic way is so not likely. It's worth some risk, because I think risk is really opportunity, right? Sure. The things worthwhile in life are risky. Yeah. Good things don't happen without some risk. So instead of seeing risk and going, oh, I should shy away from it, going, hey, that's a door. And if we open that door, there could be some really special things behind it.
Yeah, that's so true. So what was the aha moment or the turning point where you and your wife decided to start your own law firm?
Yeah. So she had been working at other firms and growing her book of business. In her mind, she was always going to open her own firm someday. Yeah. And she got to this point then where she kind of came home and just said, I think I'm ready. My book's getting to a certain size. I'm starting to get pulled into projects and tasks I don't want to do. And I feel like I could have a say and just control it. And I think the best way to control it is just have my own business. Sure. And so that was what kind of the catalyst then that she did that and said, maybe in the next 3 months, let's build out a plan. And every night we were just working on what it would take to understand what we were getting into. And then she kicked it off, I'd say over about 3 months, opened it up and started Zimmer Law Firm. Yeah.
You guys have been pretty successful.
We have. It's just about 10x since the first year. The first year was a wild success. That meant, she took home more money than she had before, had more time, more enjoyment in her work. And then you think from a revenue perspective that it's just exploded, and we've been able to do things that we hoped we would maybe do, 30 or 40 years down the road. Now you're kind of having to recalibrate into, well, if I'm already here, then what is 30 and 40 years down the road? And those are fun discussions to have.
For sure. And so how is it working with your wife?
We like it. I understand it's not for everybody, but I think it is for more people if they would maybe take a crack at it.
Sure.
We are different people, and so we don't overlap. She's the attorney. She's the legal brain. She's how to work with all of the legal documents, the client experience, how to over deliver, for them. Yeah. a lot of strategic vision and what she wants out of the firm that she'd always wanted. I'm in marketing, sales, systems, process, project management. And we overlap a little bit, but she's not really coming to my office going, you should do this with digital marketing any more than I'm in there saying, and this is how a trust provision should be worked out. So that's where we kind of we stay in our lanes. We come together on certain pieces. So we're not, there's days people go, you see each other, you must see each other all day long. And I say, no, literally, we both have full calendars.
Yeah.
A lot of days I, walk past her office in the morning or pop in once, or she does to me. And otherwise we get home. It's kind of, how was your day? What were your meetings like and what you worked on? Because we don't work side by side 24/7.
Yeah. Well, so my late husband and I, we had several businesses together. And so we worked side by side, like day in, day out. I think over the course of 10 years, we probably had 10 days apart from each other, which is a lot. And there were moments where it was just like, it's overwhelming, but we, like you, we were power couple, you're a power couple together, and there are people that you can, if you're with your spouse, certain couples have that ability to really complement each other's strengths. And that's what we were able to do for each other. And it is not for everyone. In hindsight, I think we probably worked too closely together because it could, for me, like we were side by side, like day in and day out. We travel everywhere together, and it was a lot, but we were able to really create quite the, our businesses were, very successful. So
that's inspiring. And that is a good little anecdote of, where we try to separate things out and keep them the same. I feel like we get this 1 + 1 = 3 or 4 with us because we're not clones of each other. And I think that's where the secret sauce is, that we aren't. If we were identical versions of each other, we'd probably butt heads all day long because, it would be harder to line up. Where I think that when you can complement each other, you really go further, because that's, to me, how you'd want to structure a business partnership, regardless if it was spouses or not, right? Clones of each other would not take you as far as saying, I'm not good at all these things, let me bring in a partner that can.
Yeah.
We just naturally get that through the marriage.
Yeah, that's awesome. What would be like some advice to maybe anybody that's listening that has a spouse that's talking about starting a business together because they're kind of like thinking that there's something more out there for them?
I think one is being supportive. Day one, when she said, I want to start a business, I just wanted to help and not intrude, but certainly be supportive. And it morphed into us working together. But day one, it was like, I'm happy for you to support that. And if my background can be useful to you, let me help. And over about 9 or 10 months, that turned into, let's do this full time together. And so I think one is just be supportive, there for that person. It's hard. If you understand it, that's fantastic. If you don't, be inquisitive, ask some questions. It may be an opportunity for you to do some things. And if not, you can at least understand what they're doing. There is no greater reward, no harder, day in the life of an entrepreneur. I mean, I tell people all the time, do you want me to talk you in or out of it? As much as I love it, there's a whole side that I think is really challenging that doesn't get enough showcasing on social media it's hard. It's really freaking hard. And that needs to be out there too, not just celebrating the wins, but the tough days and the days that your best employee quits and you're not sure how to get them replaced and can't hire. There's a cash flow issue. That's the real side too. And that's hard.
Yeah. No, those are very real things. And you're absolutely right. Because it is very hard, as rewarding as it is. And it's great to have this freedom. You work harder having your own business than you do working at in a corporate job. I mean, you can work hard there too, but it's a different kind of effort, I feel like, if that makes sense. We had about 150 employees, so we had a lot of employees. And so and you talk about cash flow issues, we started up in 2008 when everything crashed. And so we had to do, we did the borrowing on our receivables, right? And so it's very high interest rate. And so we tried to get it. We needed that because we did $4 million in sales in 1 year, the first year. And so when your vendors or your customers expect terms, and so you're basically financing their business until that invoice becomes due. And so how are you going to pay your employees for 4 weeks? When you're not getting paid from your customers for 4 weeks.
Yes.
So it's a delicate balancing act, and it's incredibly rewarding when you are successful and when you resolve some of those issues. It's like, I did this. You feel like you won.
I think that's probably almost sometimes like the most fun and exciting part is when you nail something and it's really working and you overcame some challenges.
Yeah.
really aware that you truly did that, and you get to high five the team and yourselves, but you know that you played a key, huge part in it. That is so much fun and so rewarding to me.
Yes, it is. What can you share what a challenge that you and your wife experienced that you got and tell us how you got through it and what the resolution was?
Yeah. So if you go way back, we did a lot of flat fee work in the legal space.
Okay.
And we did a lot of pay. Our clients, a lot of our clients paid like half up front, maybe half at the very completion of the project.
Okay.
So we would do all of the work and then send the final invoice and then get paid usually 90 to 180 days later. And so there was this period where, I'd go, man, this was the most work we ever did. We double from 6 months ago. And then the flip side I would be talking to Tracy going, but we don't have money to pay bills, right? Because it was a cash flow issue. And it was so challenging to see the team doing the work, but we weren't always being compensated for it and compensated in time.
Yeah.
And so, we overcame that. We shifted. We started seeing what other competitors did, what just would the market allow. And we decided we would move to a upfront payment only system.
Yeah.
Or tiered, where we could actually have a stop point. And so we would never work beyond the funds we'd collected. And then that moved us out of dealing with AR. We're just taking, essentially checking the box saying we're done with everything that we'd already pre-collected.
Yeah.
And pretty much over 30 or 60 days, our cash flow issues went away. If we had the big month, we already had the funds for it, and we were able to pay everything and pay people and save. And that was a huge one. And it was a big aha moment of saying we've got to completely change how we invoice and bill clients.
Yeah. What is good, everyone? This is your host, Deanna Radulescu with Label Free Podcast. Live your best life. You must live label free. Can we get a round of applause today? Woo! Today I'm excited to announce Manscaped launched their Ultra Premium Collection. Believe it or not, it's for your not so private parts. I'm talking about a leveled up hygiene routine with your favorite manly scent. And let me tell you something. Oh, it smells so good. My man wears this every day. This is an all-in-one skin and hair care kit for the everyday man and covers you from head to toe. Manscaped is trusted below the waist. Now trust them with the rest. Join the 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped by going to manscaped.com and use the code LABELFREE20 for 20% off and free shipping. And enjoy. I think for a law firm, that's more acceptable than if you are selling goods. So we sold transmissions to, our customers were like UPS, FedEx, Garda, Pepsi, Coca-Cola, and a lot of these big companies, they don't pay right away. They pay 45, 60, sometimes 90 days.
Yes.
Because based on you talk about AR, their system, and if those invoices aren't inputted correctly, you're going to get a delay in getting paid. And so you might get a check, but it's not going to be for everything that's due. And it's like, I think from a legal standpoint, because let me tell you something, I've had to deal with 9 different lawyers for 9 different issues in 1 year. So I know how you guys operate.
Yes, you do.
I know how you guys operate. And so, but I'd always negotiate the bill, because they love to bill you those billable hours.
And so that's why we went to probably about 97% flat fee, where, when someone comes in, just because of what we're doing, we can say, hey, this is the deliverable you're going to get, the meetings, the conversations, the communication around it. And then just say, to do this is what it costs. And people then don't have to get this. How did this bill cost this much? Right. We already talked ahead of time to get XYZ. It's going to be this much money. And then we just go pay it and we'll start. Or we can do, send in half. We'll get you maybe a summary. And then once we get the second half, we'll complete everything. Yeah. We have a few people say no, but otherwise it changed that game for us, where before we just chased. We spent a lot of man hours chasing getting payment for something we had done 6 months ago. And that was frustrating as heck.
Well, yeah. And that's like, if you want to talk about your financials and being, that's like costing you money then, because, it's like, are they going to pay you interest on that money that they've owed you for 6 months? No, but you're still operating your business.
You got it.
Like you've already put out those efforts, that manpower, and it's like, you're not getting compensated for that money that you financed their business basically for, you know what I mean?
Yes.
So I have a question. Do you think a lot of law firms should go to like a flat rate for different things?
Yeah. And you're seeing it more and more. I'm really active on LinkedIn, and it's a growing camp, where I would say 10 or 15 years ago, it actually got called alternate fee because it was different, right? And it was, to me, that's backwards, because in all the industries I came from, you put together a proposal for what the delivery of goods would be and said how much it's going to cost. This is not alternate. This is how a lot of the world functions. Yeah. And it's starting to shift over now to more and more people doing it, especially in more and more complex areas. You're seeing folks do complex litigation with these proposals of kind of like this tree of options, saying, hey, if it goes to here, we do this. If it goes to here, it would cost this to do this or this based on what facts we find. And then people know what they're getting into. And what we found is people will pay more to have that like cut off of costs, right? Because again, if you're doing this bill that comes every month, is this, how many months is this going to go on? What are these bills going to be? And these people, we find is people want to know just what will it cost. And so it can actually be higher because like an insurance policy in your mind of, but then that's done and I do get this thing and it's a guarantee. Yeah. And it de-stresses. So I feel like firms should explore it. It may not be perfect forever or in every case, but it makes your life a lot easier when you move that way.
Can you tell us what kind of law you guys practice?
Yeah. So estates and trusts. So we do about a third is estate planning. So putting together powers of attorney and wills and trusts for families. About a third of estate and trust administration. So working with families then when they lose loved ones to carry out the estate, carry out the trust, inheritance taxes, things like that. And then a third in what's considered elder law, which is a unique subset of helping people pay for and protect assets from nursing homes, trusts for people with like special needs children and the planning around that, guardianships for loved ones. And so some of these more complex areas. But that's it. The neighbor's dog bites you. We are not the firm. We're always in this kind of protection of assets world.
Well, let's shift gears a little bit. I know you're not the attorney, but I'm sure you are fairly knowledgeable with what you guys do. And so for anybody that's listening, and specifically, I mean, I'm even curious for myself. So my fiance, his parents are getting older. His father specifically is digressing. He's got health problems. I think he's starting dementia. He's got signs of dementia. And his parents have quite a few assets. And so they've got no will. They've got nothing in a trust. There's no power of attorney. There's nothing to really protect the assets, the mother and him, if the father, goes into a nursing home or, God forbid something happens to him. And, so how important is it for people in that situation to have something set up to protect them in that situation?
Yeah, incredibly. And we see it from a couple of angles. So I'll touch on a few pieces. Okay. On the power of attorney side, and that's someone that can make decisions for you if you can't. So when people have dementia, they could have a traumatic stroke, things like that. At some point, they lose the ability to make decisions for themselves. That means they can't write checks, pay bills, sell the house if needed. The person that can do that's the power of attorney. Yeah. And once you lose the ability to get that point, you're looking at what's called a guardianship, which is, depending on states, but typically like a hearing in front of a judge where they take that person's rights and ability to make a decision and assign it to somebody else. Yeah. It's expensive. It's stressful. It's probably the least fun thing somebody could go through for a loved one. Yeah. And a power of attorney can alleviate that. Like, it's just get that kind of a thing in place. And then from the nursing home perspective, depending on the types of assets people have, sometimes what's called private paying does make sense. You can just pay the invoices they come in, but the highest level of care, depending on state and city and all that, routinely is between like $8,000 and $14,000 a month. Yeah. You can do the math on what does that turn into a year? How many years may they live? And if somebody has $6 or $7 million, they're not going to probably outspend their money. Yeah. It doesn't make sense to always do it. But when people come in,
I don't think a lot of people do.
Right. So when people come in and they say, we've got 200,000, 400, 600,000, they go, that would be gone in say 2 or 3 years. Yeah. There are things we can do then, depending on how early they come to us, to say we can protect a large part, if not all of that, depending on how things are set up. But you have to start those discussions early. When people call and say, Dad's in a nursing home, we paid $100,000 in bills, there's $30,000 left, way less options than if you would have called 5 years ago. That's why we always like to talk to people, is just helping them understand there are options. And if it's too early, then we won't do anything right now. Yeah. But it's kind of doesn't hurt to usually get those free consultations, ask someone, because more times than not, they can give you the plan on, maybe you have to start today, or maybe it's like at a milestone, and we can help set that up for people and others can. And to me, that's invaluable to start having that game plan of what do you do?
Yeah. Wow. On that note, where can people find you, connect with you, and learn more if they want to work with your firm?
Yeah. So from the firm aspect, ZimmerLaw.com. And you can, if you're in the state of Pennsylvania or in Ohio, we're now moving into Ohio, we can help that way. And, set up from there. And then I try to be very active on LinkedIn, on Instagram, with sometimes things that the firm can help with, sometimes more helping people understand you can become an entrepreneur and branch out and do some things on that space. So, I feel like kind of hit it from all angles there.
I love it. Okay, you guys, I'm gonna put all those links in the show notes. So don't hesitate to go connect with Andrew. Go check out their website and their law firm. So I will make sure that I have those there for you to connect with them. So this is the part of the show where I like to ask for last words of wisdom or advice. What would you like to leave with the audience today?
Yeah. My favorite thing is taking steps forward and putting an action plan in place and making it happen is so much more useful than waiting for a perfect plan or perfect timing. Those people that always wait for perfection watch months and then years and sometimes decades slip by waiting, where the folks that just say, I'm going to do this today, and I'm going to do the next piece tomorrow and the next piece after that. 6 weeks, 12 weeks, a year from now have made a ton of progress and are figuring it out. So if you want to change careers, launch a business, get into a new product area, just a new job in the corporate world, just take the action and you'll actually have the results. The people that don't sit there and suffer the consequences forever.
True. Very true. I think you're going to be writing a book soon. I feel that from you. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think you've got like, there's a fire lit in you and you're ready to go. But Andrew, thank you so much. I could keep talking to you and I could keep asking questions to educate the audience, but maybe we'll have to have a part 2 somewhere down the line. But it was a blast listening to your story and what you and your wife are doing together. I think is fantastic.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You guys, this is your host, Deanna Radulescu with Label Free Podcast. To live your best life, you must live label free. Please don't forget to subscribe, follow, rate, review, comment, share, all those good things. And I'll be back soon with more dynamic guests.